This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Monday, February 2nd, 2026. I'm Abriana Herron. The Starting Small Summit will return to Bethel University this month for a half-day event aimed at aspiring entrepreneurs, business leaders, and students across the South Bend Elkhart region. Cameron Nagel is the host of the Starting Small podcast and will moderate the sessions. He says the event format centers live interviews with entrepreneurs on their journeys from childhood through the founding moments of their companies.
They might have created a multi-billion-dollar company, but they lived and grew up the same way we did, or even worse in some situations.
The 5th annual summit is scheduled for February 11th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Everest Rohrer Chapel and Fine Arts Center. Republican Representative Ed Clear has decided to leave the Indiana General Assembly after 18 years. He says the political changes brought by President Donald Trump have pushed him out of the party, including conflicts over congressional redistricting. Clear said he intended to remain part of the House Republican caucus and serve out the remainder of his legislative term that ends in November. He said he plans to run as an independent candidate for New Albany mayor in 2027. Muncie-based First Merchants Corporation announced Monday it has completed its merger with First Savings Financial Group Incorporated in Jeffersonville. Plans for the merger were first announced last September, and the $241 million deal officially closed February 1st. First Savings operates 16 bank branches in southern Indiana with total assets of $2.4 billion. Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand is made possible by the following.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise@ibj.com to learn more.
A bill that would remove a long-standing licensing requirement for pharmacists in Indiana is moving forward at the State House. Inside Indiana Business's Alex Brown has more.
The Indiana Senate recently passed Senate Bill 293, which would eliminate the requirement that pharmacists take a law exam before practicing in the state. Currently, pharmacists seeking licensure in Indiana must pass the Multi-State Pharmacy Jurisprudence Examination, known as the MPJE. The exam is designed to ensure pharmacists understand both the state and federal pharmacy laws. Under the bill, pharmacists would no longer be required to take that exam. Instead, they would maintain knowledge of Indiana pharmacy laws through continuing education courses. Republican Senator Brian Buchanan of Lebanon authored the bill. In a written statement, he said the goal is to reduce red tape for pharmacy students entering the workforce, calling pharmacists a vital part of the healthcare industry. Buchanan worked with the Indiana Pharmacy Association on the legislation. The bill would still require pharmacists to pass the North American Pharmacist Licensure Examination to practice in Indiana. Indiana Pharmacy Association Executive Vice President Darren Covington says similar changes in other states have not resulted in patient harm or poor practice. Covington says the bill could help attract pharmacists to Indiana as the state and the nation face a projected shortage in the profession. He added that pharmacy students would still be required to pass coursework in pharmacy law and remain responsible for following state regulations. The bill now heads to the Indiana House for consideration. Alex Brown, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
The Wayne County Foundation has launched a nonprofit entity it says will accelerate the revitalization of the county's core communities. The Wayne County Land Trust will focus on the restoration of historic buildings, expanded housing options, and reinvesting locally for long-term growth. The foundation said the Land Trust has already purchased nearly 24 properties in downtown Richmond and the city's Depot District. As it begins work on a large-scale revitalization project, it will operate as a long-term owner of the restored properties, which will ensure that any profits are reinvested back into the community. Spectron RX, a contract company that specializes in radiopharmaceutical drug development and isotope production, completed a major expansion at its campus near Grissom Air Reserve Base in Bunker Hill. CEO John Zahner says the additional space will allow the company to take on more contracts.
We're just seeing a lot of investment, a lot of big pharma. Many of our customers started out as biotechs and have now been acquired by pharma. So we now have contracts with most of the big pharma that are in this space.
The expansion grows its Miami County campus from about 20 acres to 34 acres and quadruples its manufacturing space. Spectron RX has a team of 250 employees. About 60 work at the Bunker Hill campus, and the expansion will create 50 more jobs over the next 2 years. I'm Abriana Herron for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand.